Hi, we're back again, and we have a very interesting gentleman that we had before, so you might remember him. And he's going to tell us about some of the new books and the adventures of them all. Hi, this
Hi,
is
Carol.
Richard Lake, and he's been here before, and we recognize him.
Thank you.
I don't know if we can see your eyes there, but
Well,
there you go. That's better. Okay, I'm so glad to have you back because I know you've had some exciting things happen in the news and there's different places that have to do with your book here. And this is 9/11 2.0.
thank you, Carol. My book, 9/11 2.0, as I call it, is about another 9/11. As we know, the first 9/11 was very effective as far as lying to the American people, and there was an agenda, let's go to war in the Mideast, and we're still there after 17 years. So my book, the premise is, what if they did it again? What other freedoms, would they want to take away from Americans next time?
Wow, tell me some of the freedoms because some people probably wouldn't understand that's something that happened way in the past. So be very specific about.
I understand. There's people that have been, like I say, this happened some 17 years ago or so. So young folks have lived a good percentage of their life in the aftermath of this, not knowing, as older folks have, what came before,
Right.
which is very important. If you can stomp out history, and they've done that, like the victors write the history, and if you can erase aspects of history, young folks won't, they will have no knowledge of it, not know that things could be different. Some supplementary material that I brought, this book here, JFK and 9/11. These are two acts of murder done by the deep state. And here, 50 years of deep state. And so there's information on the internet that people can look up, and I highly advise that they do so. My book is a fictional novel, again, if it happened again, what they would want to do this time. I'm sorry, but to answer your question, since 9/11, we've had the Patriot Act, and we've had the Homeland Security. And Homeland Security is one of the biggest functions, if not the biggest agency in the government. And it's like a hub for the FBI, CIA, and others, Justice Department, on and on. Someone like you, Carol, goes to the airport and they want to search you and you can't take a thing of toothpaste. This is ridiculous.
No,
this is beyond, this is totalitarian. Okay?
It's not America.
It's not America that's supposed to be. No, no, no. Another book I will show, which I met this gentleman here in Fresno. His name's Christopher Ballion, and Solving 9/11.
Oh.
And I met this gentleman. I had breakfast with him and everything. And he does a presentation with he has all types of material, what you call, I'm forgetting, with a computer, it's all on a computer, puts it up on a screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Stylized presentation. And he wrote this book also. Now, this is all factual about what 9/11 really about.
Wow.
Again, mine is, it's a fictional story about a guy trying to get medicine to save his wife. In my book, the government and big pharma specifically, or corporations in general, are the bad guys. And again, if they did it again, I can't say the whole thing or no one going to buy the book, but what freedoms would they want to take away next?
What really convinced you that they're deliberately putting these things on so that they can take things away from us, or was it? am I thinking about it wrong?
No, I don't think you are, Carol. In fact, there's a video of President Bush. All right. I don't know if we're prepared to show that now.
Oh,
we
you're
can
right.
show our audience right here,
Great.
right now.
Wonderful.
As soon as Congress acts on this bill, the men our intelligence agencies believed helped orchestrate the 9/11 attacks can face justice. The bill would also provide clear rules for our personnel involved in detaining and questioning captured terrorists. The information that the Central Intelligence Agency has obtained by questioning men like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed has provided valuable information and has helped disrupt terrorist plots, including strikes within the United States. For example, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed described the design of planned attacks on buildings inside the U.S. and how operatives were directed to carry them out. That is valuable information for those of us who have the responsibility to protect the American people. He told us the operatives have been instructed to ensure that the explosives went off at a point that was high enough to prevent people trapped above from escaping. That the explosives went off at a point that was high enough to prevent people trapped above from escaping. He gave us information that helped uncover al-Qaeda cells' efforts to obtain biological weapons. We've also learned information from the CIA program that has helped stop other plots.
See,
Wow.
now, there's no way I could make that up.
No,
No.
absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
And also, well, now, you ever been to a barbecue?
Yeah,
What's the grill made out of? Steel.
steel.
What do you do underneath the steel grate? A fire. Does the barbecue fall apart when you make a fire in the steel, under the steel? No, it doesn't. And so the 9/11 was a controlled demolition, plain and simple. And in fact, there were 3 buildings that came down that day. The Twin Towers is highly publicized. There's also, folks can look up World Trade Center number 7, WT7. That's a 3rd building
Wow.
that dropped just like the other 2, controlled demolition. Now this is,
Now, how
I can't-
did those people get in there to put everything you would have to do to make them just fall? And then, they didn't blow
Okay.
up, they just fell.
what goes, okay, very good, yes. There's, okay, they say that part of it is in, there's fire extinguishers, and they look cylindrical that carry gas, halon, I believe, to, for a fire. And they were switched out to include explosives. And crews worked on the, in the elevator shafts and all that, which is the structural core of the buildings.
And nobody noticed this? Huh?
Well, it just tell the workers there, we're working on the building, no one's going to say anything.
Good Lord.
But the primary evidence is right there in the fact that they came down perfectly. They didn't boom and fall over or boom and
No,
half
I know.
falls off or
Unbelievable.
anything.
Unbelievable.
Okay, and then there's again, plenty of information on the internet that can be looked up. Like over 100 people trading stocks, companies trading stocks, made money. The guy who owned the 2 buildings, all right, he took out extra insurance, and he made money. In
So
fact,
he
not
knew
just
it was going to happen? Or what?
that's the
Sounds like he
implication.
did,
The
yeah.
odds are, in information I've looked up, the odds are astronomical that this could be a coincidence, that all these certain companies just happened to sell their stock or buy stock prior to this. Astronomical. I mean, people can get convicted on circumstantial evidence, like he said he was going to kill him. He threatened him before. He doesn't have a good alibi. People said he loved his wife. It could all be circumstantial. No one actually saw anything. But you put all these little pieces together, and it's like, come on.
Well,
How else,
I always said something was done to those buildings before that ever happened, because that they just don't fall down like that.
They just don't fall down like that, Carol. You're absolutely right. And so with that, see, now you can learn a little something over here, and then you can learn a little something over here. And now that these two pieces of information, you can put them together to form a third piece of knowledge or opinion or idea. And that's the idea of my book here. Again, the first 9/11, what if they did it again? And what would they want to do or take away from us this time? And people can, and this is taken from the news, things that we've seen the government try to institute in their actions and their other false flag events. I just made it into a novel. My novel's peppered with all these little factoids.
Oh gosh, that's got to be something to read.
Well, I hope so. My novel is written to entertain, because it's a regular story, Yeah, regular, like a Robin Hood story, and there's humor in there also, but also to enlighten. I'm written in the hope that people will. Other novels like 1984, written by George Orwell. Ray Bradbury wrote Fahrenheit 451.
I remember that.
Now these are.
It was a big thing at the time.
Right. Now, these are futuristic. Mine is not futuristic. Mine could happen tomorrow. But those novels, and mine as well, are written to, when you're a writer and you write something, even if it's Happy Birthday, Uncle Bob or something, you're trying to influence and impart a knowledge or thought to another person. And so this is what a writer does. And if people watch movies or read books, you'll see that there's a message from the writer in many cases.
You know what? I think this is one day going to be a movie. This would be a fantastic movie and something that interests everybody, because our lives were changed, everybody's lives were changed by that.
Well, you're absolutely right. I have something I brought here, another something I brought.
Okay.
It shows how the country, more than 2/3 of Americans are stressed about the future of their country, according to the American Psychological Association. Okay. The environment is toxic. Concern about the state of the country is across party lines. People don't believe the current political environment is getting better and maybe getting worse.
That's right.
I mean, it used to be, we were all brought up and kind of know that politicians and these big people in power, they're kind of do their own thing and da-da-da, and, but it's like they don't even try to hide the lies anymore. They
No. I know. What gets me is the new people that go in and they think they're going to change everything, They go to one meeting and everybody else talks them out of it. So that's why nothing good happens, because they immediately become part of the bad part.
Exactly. It's known that people vote predominantly not for someone, but against the other one.
Right.
Okay, what's the lesser of two evils? People vote for change. They think, okay, we need change. So they vote for that. Like Obama, hope and change.
Yeah.
What changed?
Didn't change much.
They talk about Trump draining the swamp. All right, now I'm not, I study things very much pro-Trump, and then also not so much pro-Trump, And I think Trump is in many ways just like all the rest.
Oh, yeah.
He's a 1%er. Trump is for Trump, but not all about that. I mean, he talks about draining the swamp. Well, now when you drain a swamp, you have to prevent it from filling up again.
Oh, that's the hard part.
You have to change the structure of creating a swamp in the first place, because the swamp, due to its location and everything else, that's where the rain falls and ends up, In this case, the water is money, of course. The swamp is Washington, D.C., and the water is money. And so to change that is changing a lot. You really have to. There's something in my book, an idea there that about how that could be done. Perhaps difficult to implement, but not especially if you really think of it.
Wow.
You know, what we have now is structures that have been around for, a couple hundred years in our country, and that's modeled on things from the past with our own spin on it, the freedom and, democracy, which was all good, But the corporations have taken over. A definition of fascism is when the corporations and the government are like this, and the corporations will write laws and give them to their congressmen, which they gave money to get in there.
Yeah, you notice you could tell that happened because they used to have laws against businesses becoming too big.
Right.
And what happened to those laws?
Yeah.
Now they're just giants like Amazon, places.
Right.
Good Lord.
I mean, look around any town, look at buildings being shuttered and all that. That's because of the internet, and that's, things like Amazon.
Out of business.
Artificial intelligence that Amazon has. They have a store you can just walk into. You don't have to do anything. You take a salad and walk out, and it knows there's cameras on you and this and that, and they already know it's you. There's probably an app on your phone you have to have, I would think. But they know it's you, and they already know some of your behaviors, and you taking a salad lines up with they already know you like salads, and
Good
you walk.
God.
There's no exchange of money or credit card or anything. Is putting chips in credit cards a precursor to putting chips in? They say a little chip, but like the size of a piece of rice right here. They're doing studies like this in Europe, where to go buy a soda or something, you just go boink,
Oh,
and then
God.
what happens when that gets hacked? What happens when the government wants to change things and just drain your account, which they can do? Say that you owe taxes or you are fined because of this. That's very much leading towards a total control.
What has happened to humanity? What's happening to us, the human being? Where they were just being put in the background and turned to a machine.
Good point. I had the same thought. When I saw this thing about the Amazon store, I wrote up this little thing and I put it on the internet. And at the bottom I put, this reminds me, what's the definition of robot? Because here the people are instructed or persuaded to just go in and do this and this, and go in and just take your salad or whatever and walk out. Is these systems
They're
turning us into robots? I mean, that's very cliche
say,
and all that, but they're turning us into the robots now. We're working for them and the integrated systems, So,
well, gosh, I think that this is the most interesting thing that is coming out, and very important for all of us to know some of this information in here. So please, if you're interested in what's happening to us in the world and what could happen again, this is the book to buy. I'm so glad you came in again.
Thank you,
today,
Carol.
Richard. I love having you. And come in some more, because I know that you're doing a lot of things on this line, open people's eyes, right?
Thank you. Yes, I'd like people to. I have a saying that it's better to be aware than hide thine head in the sand, for to exist without a care means thee truly dost not understand. I mean, you need to understand things are.
Yeah, open your eyes.
Right.
Eyes. You got to be aware.
Yes.
And that's just an everyday thing. You need to be aware. And that you'll be able to react to things in a positive way.
There's a thing called situational awareness, which is taught predominantly in the military. When you're in the military, you don't just walk around like this, da-da-da. No, you walk around like this, and you are every little sound, little shadow, this or that, da-da-da. Okay? Because you might get shot. You're, in a situation here. there's so much distraction. People walk around like this now.
Oh,
With
my
no,
God.
I mean, there's cartoons about people going off cliffs and people get hit by cars. And in truth, too, not just cartoons, but everyone going around like this.
I saw a guy riding a bicycle, reading it or something, and he was reading it, and he wasn't. How can you tell where you're going?
Yeah, and that's someone else programming you. That's someone else with their commercialization, or I mean, that may be a dark way to view it. Okay, but don't think it's not happening. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are. It's not that they're aware, but they're starting to feel a little bit. What's wrong? Something's wrong.
Things are wrong. We elect so-called representatives, but then they get in like the Washington Club, and then it's all about what the federal government is doing and what they're trying to do and this and that, da-da-da-da-da. Our so-called state representatives, do they really have the interests of our state or this or that? No, once they're into
They
the Washington...
forget the state. They forget.
Right. And now they're on a world stage, representing the federal government and its agenda and such. And
Well, I tell you, this has been wonderful and very interesting, and I do want you to come back. Will you come back again?
I could talk for hours.
Okay, Richard.
I wrote a book about it,
Okay,
yeah.
you take care now and try to float through it.
Try to calm down.
Okay,
Right.
Well, thank you so much. We'll be right back.